Hello again, my little snotlings, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, I'm going to be taking you through step by step my first 2,000 point tournament army for Warhammer the Old World, Orcs and Goblins. I am really genuinely excited for today's video because this is something that I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. And so without further ado, let's heft our choppers and our way right into this thing. As is tradition, before we get into the nitty-gritty detail of the army list itself, I just want to give you guys a bit of context because there's a story attached to this army list. For those of you that don't know, I have been playing Warhammer games since I was a little kid. I mean, literally, I've been playing Warhammer since I was 4 or 5 years old. I've grown up with it, and it has been a constant companion in my life, and that's why it's very, very near and dear and important to me. But what many of you may not know is I didn't really get into 40k until I was a young teenager. And my first army that I ever truly had, that I ever truly collected, was Orcs and Goblins. And I was a fanatic... Sorry, had to be made. I was a fanatical Goblin player, Orc and Goblin player, for about the ages of sort of 6 to 11 or 12. So for a really, important part of my life growing up. And I used to love playing Warhammer Fantasy, and I had no idea what I was doing. And whenever I used to play against my big brother, I always used to get absolutely smashed because he's a few years older than me, so he knew what he was doing and I didn't. But I always dreamed of building my army up to be a proper Orc and Goblin force. And one of the big things that I always used to do when I was a kid is read the old White Dwarfs and read the articles about people that had been to like doubles tournaments, stuff that GW had held, like Warhammer World and all that kind of stuff. And I always wished that I could go to a Warhammer tournament with my Orcs and Goblins. Now, unfortunately, by the time that I got old enough to go to those tournaments, but I lost my interest in Warhammer Fantasy for a little bit between the ages of sort of 12 and sort of 18, as it were. But by the time I got back into it, by the time I was like, oh yeah, let's get back into Warhammer Fantasy, it was on the way out. It was the end times, and it ended up getting blown up, and Warhammer Fantasy went away. And so I always regretted. I always had a bit of a twinge of sadness because I was like, I never got that chance to fulfill that childhood dream. Well, with the return of Warhammer the Old World, that dream is now a reality. And many, many, many of the models that you will see here today are not only classic models from my collection. Some of these are 25 years old, if not older. But also, I've added in a few units that I always coveted as a kid, but never quite managed to get. And so with all of that said, let's deep dive Mordian's dream childhood Orc and Goblin army. So the first thing that I've done with the army is essentially break it down into 3 distinct tribes. I always really liked the different aspects of the Orcs and the Goblins. And so you'll notice that we've got a tribe of common goblins here, a tribe of Orcs, and we've also got a tribe of night goblins. And I've tried to get some of the unique units from each of those different aspects of the Orc and Goblin culture. Starting off with the common goblins, I have got 10 Goblin Wolf Riders. Now, I always loved Wolf Riders as a kid, and so in fact, many of these models that you see here are actually ones from my childhood that I have lovingly restored. Some of them are new ones as well, because I didn't have that many with spears back in the day, but this is a unit of 10 Wolf Riders, and they were always my favourite unit. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the fact that I grew up with dogs as a kid, but I always loved the Goblin Wolf Riders, and no matter how many times they failed, no matter how many times they got absolutely butchered, I always had them charging off against my brother's Chaos Chosen Knights. I told you, boys, I was a kid, I didn't know what I was doing, but I used to love charging Wolf Riders and the Chosen Knights. And I can safely say that not a single time, not once, not even against the Sister God odds, did they ever beat those Chosen Knights, my brother's Metal Chaos Chosen Knights. But they always gave it a go, and it was always a ton of fun. So we've got 10 of them with cavalry spears, and I've also upgraded them to having shields and light armor. Now, this is definitely against the prevailing wisdom of Wolf Riders. A lot of people say you want to take them with like short bows, upgrade them to, I think they can do like reserve move and all that kind of stuff. But that's not the way I used to play them as a kid. That's not the way I'm going to play them in this tournament list. So we've got 10 of these Wolf Riders, and they are my quote-unquote shock cavalry. And I just want to take a moment just to sort of take it in, because this is a unit that I've finally been able to do a bit of justice to. I'm not the best painter in the world, don't get me wrong, and these are all done with speed paints, but these are way better than I was ever able to paint as a kid, and I'm really happy with the way they've come out. And finally, I feel like I've been able to, when you're a kid, you try and paint things, but what you imagine in your head, you struggle to translate onto the models itself because you're not that good at painting. Well, finally, I feel like I've got some of those models that I imagined what they looked like as a kid, and now I've actually got them. Yeah, real member berries right now, guys. Real member berries. I remember. You remember? I remember. We've also got a unit of 37, well, kind of 40 if you include the nasty skulkers, but 37 common goblins. Now, I was always a bit of a different kid. I always liked to go against the grain, and I'm still a little bit like that today as an adult. You know, I always like to take the meme list. I like to be anti-meta rather than meta. And I was always a big common goblin fan. I don't know what it is about the models. I just really liked the common goblins. Maybe it was the spiky shields. I always thought the spiky shields were really cool. Maybe it's the skull shields. But I always preferred common goblins. And so I said to myself, it doesn't matter how much better people say night goblins are over common goblins. I am going to make sure that in this army, I have a brick of my bestest boys. So we've got a big brick of common goblins here, full command, light armor, shields, spears, and we've also given them 3 nasty skulkers. Now, these are actually, they are night goblin models, to be fair, but I wanted them that would stand out a little bit in the horde. And some of you may notice that these are actually from the Battle of Skull Pass. These are actually original Battle of Skull Pass models that I have owned since I was a child. I actually got Battle of Skull Pass, I think, basically when it was released, which was a long time ago. And so these models have been sat basically in my parents' attic, built but unpainted for well over a decade, probably a couple of decades, if I'm not sure when Battle of Skull Pass was released. If you know, let us know down in that comment section. And finally, I've been able to do them justice. But I don't really need this many like goblin sergeants, as it were. So I painted them up as just in the same colour scheme, you know, the purple across the army. I am expecting lots of Mordian. Why are you filming a blank table? Kind of comments with the purple orcs. But yeah, I thought these guys would make quite good nasty skulkers because they've got like the wicked blades and stuff that you can see, and they're obviously a bit sneaky beaky. So there we are. Now, not strictly speaking, part of the common goblin tribes, we have some of the bestiary of the orcs and goblins, and we've got some river trolls. These are old metal river trolls, and these are probably the only models in the collection which I actively dislike. I'm so sorry, River Troll fans, but they just look so goofy. Like, even as a kid, even as a child, I was like, why the hell have they got like top knots? What the hell is going on here? I always, as an adult, I always imagined that this guy in the middle with the big club, he's like the dude. He's like the male river troll, and then these ones with the long hair and sort of the top knots, the ponytails. Maybe they're his 2 wives. He's a bit of a player, this troll. Oh my god! But yeah, I always thought these models were absolutely goofy. But these are models that I have had since these are one of the first models I've ever had. Crazy times, and you can see that they've been a bit damaged. You can see one of this. I think if I can hold it up a little bit better to the camera. You can see that the foot on this troll is actually missing. I've tried to paint it like it's been cut off. But yeah, that I remember what happened is he kept snapping off his base. He kept snapping off his base constantly because I was just using like some sort of shitty own brand sort of super glue. And he kept snapping off his base, and then eventually one time he snapped off his base, but his foot stayed on there. And then over the course of history, that base with that random foot has been lost to the sands of time. And so when it came back to rebuilding him, I was like, well, I haven't got that foot anymore. I'll just make it like it's a foot that's been cut off, but he's a troll, so it's just like healed over. We've also got another Battle of Skull Pass model here. We've got the troll from that set. This was actually one of the first models, first trolls in plastic, I think, because up to that point, all the trolls have been in metal. And he was actually the first instance of the trolls getting remastered, because you had the old metal river trolls, which just look goofy. You had the old metal stone trolls. Now, what's interesting is I think the old metal stone trolls look amazing, and at some point I want to get a unit of those classic stone trolls, even just like a unit of 3. I don't know what it is. They've got the same goofy sort of 90s vibes, but there's something about them that just looks a bit better than the river trolls. But these are the first time that we had, I think, common trolls. I think this was genuinely the first time we had like common trolls, or at least common trolls in plastic. And you got one of these as part of Battle of Skull Pass. Now, I've painted them up to try and match the river trolls so I can use them all in the same unit, have a unit of 4. I will admit, he has come out looking a little bit like the Pokemon Mr. Mime, because he's got like his white hands and then like his blue body and it's like his white face and everything. But it's from 2 feet away. From 2 feet away, he does fit in with the rest of the river trolls, and that's the important thing. I think the closer you look at him, he does look a bit goofy though, even goofier than these bastards. So we've looked at the common goblin tribes and the bestiary. Now we are going to have a look at the orcs of the Force. So we've got 2 units of orcs here. One are childhood models that have been lovingly restored. These are the orc boys that I built. These are the first ever orc boys that I built. And I built them so badly. So badly. I am truly, eternally grateful to the team behind the Old World for increasing the base sizes of orc boys from, I think it was 25mm to 30mm. Because, and I've just kept them on the original basis, but I've got this movement tray which converts them. Because these models, I built them so badly and so higgledy-piggledy that they could not rank up. Like, I'm not talking, oh, well, certain models had to go in certain places, and then if you knew the Enigma code, you knew the exact location, they would be able to rank up. No. They could never, ever, ever rank up. I built them without putting them next to each other to see if they would rank up. So they were just the worst unit, and they always just looked like they were in a permanent squabble, which I suppose was appropriate for the time. But they were awful. So I've literally just I never painted them though. I think like 1 or 2 of them got painted. So I kept them on the same bases. I haven't had to do much more than just reprime them, and I've just stuck them on this movement tray. But they're built with an all manner of equipment. Some have got shields, some have got double chopper. I tend to run them with just double chopper. That's the way I like to run them. Now for the tournament list, this is going to be a unit of 19 orc biguns with full command and 2 hand weapons. They are going to be led by a level 2 orc shaman. Now I think they're called like odd gits or odd knobs now, but to me he's always going to be a level 2 orc shaman. And what's kind of interesting is this guy right here is the first ever orc model that I had in my army as a kid. And he was actually an unwanted model, as crazy as that sounds. But he was a very, very important model. So one of my dad used to work with a guy who also played Warhammer. And my dad used to ask him, Tim wants Warhammer, what should I get him? Now, when I was first collecting, I wanted a pure goblin army. But my dad's friend said, he definitely will want some orcs. Like, I know he says he wants pure goblins, but he definitely wants some orcs. Goblins are pretty rubbish. So my dad, for a treat one day, just came home from work, and he'd gone into the local games workshop and had just bought me a blister which contained the orc shaman. I think it was like £3 or £4 back in the day. Crazy sort of 90s prices, right? And I went, oh, it's an orc. Ugh. My dad was like, well, Stuart says that, these guys are good. Give them a chance. So I was like, oh, all right then. So, because I wasn't ungrateful as kid. I was happy I got a Warhammer model, but, obviously I was like, but I want pure goblins. Anyway, I ended up using him in a battle for the first time, and he just kept rolling like double sixes for his spells. And it was really funny because my brother used to collect Tzeentch Chaos Warriors, who were the magic boys, and my level 2 just kept like outdoing, or in his first battle, all of my like brother's Tzeentchian spells. And so ever since that moment, I was like, okay, I like this guy now. This guy's cool. And that's when I actually went out and I saved up some pocket money. I went and bought this orc unit. So these two units have always worked together. But this guy came first, and then he was like the emissary, and then his orc boys turned up later. But there was one unit as a young snotling that I never got to own. And it was actually, despite the fact that I said I wanted to be pure goblins, it was one unit that I always held I just used to look at it with awe. I used to look at it with just terror and awe and wonder in my eyes. And that was the Black Orcs. Now, I never ever owned a Black Orc model when I was young. I never got them. Mostly because they were actually super duper expensive, because they came in like blisters of like 1 or 2. And it was like £5 for like one or 2 of them. So, I think it was one guy with a great weapon, or 2 with like hand weapons or hand weapons and shields, stuff like that. And so it actually was way more expensive. Even by today's standards, it was more expensive back then. But I never got them because they were just too expensive, and they were just a unit that I always wanted but never got. And so when Old World came out, when I got back on the Orcs and Goblins, I said to myself I was going to get the Black Orc unit of my dreams. And the first box that I bought on this project of restoring my Orc and Goblin army, the first box that I bought was the Black Orcs. And let me tell you, I have genuinely got shivers going down my spine right now just looking at this unit, and I really enjoyed. I savoured every moment, both offline and on stream when I was painting these guys. I just savoured every moment because it's so cool that finally, this is literally childhood dreams coming true. I finally have a giant unit of Black Orcs. I used to sit there poring over my rulebook, reading about Black Orcs, and I used to go and do the points and work out like what the perfect unit would be, when I was a kid, and I've got it now. I've got it. So we've got 19 Black Orcs at full command, and then I used one of the Black Orc models to make a Black Orc war boss. Now I actually want another Black Orc war boss model. I do want to get Grimgor Ironhide. I haven't got him yet, but I will be looking out maybe for maybe an eBay rescue of getting Grimgor, because I mean, this guy's cool, don't get me wrong, but there's something about that Grimgor model. This guy is going to be a Black Orc war boss with the choppiest chopper, and he's also going to have Trollhide trousers, and he's going to have the enchanted shield. So he's going to have a 3-up armor save, 6-up ward save, and a 5-up regen, which should make him pretty tanky. And being a Black Orc war boss with a choppy chopper, he is going to be very, very choppy. But last and certainly not least, we have got our third tribe, and it is the Night Goblins. All of these models are classic ones from my collection. With the Orcs, like you said, I said the Black Orcs are new. They're in plastic. Some of the Wolf Riders and some of the Common Goblins are ones that I've bought to restore the army. But every single one of the models that you see here, these are classic models. These are ones that I have owned since I was a kid. When I was painting these squigs and rebasing them, I looked at the date that was stamped into the metal part of that goes into the slaughter base, and they said the year 2000. These are old school metal squigs. This was just one of my favourite units. I know I've said that a few times, but this was one of my favourites. This is my favourite Night Goblin unit. And even though I preferred common goblins, I've always thought squigs were really, really cool. So we've got a big unit of 12 squigs and 8 squig herders. We've also got some more Battle of Skull Pass night goblins here. So we're going to be running this as a unit with bows, and they're going to have the poison banner. So the ones at the back with spears are actually going to be armed with bows. They're just to make up the numbers. In Battle of Skull Pass, you've got 40 goblins with spears, and you've got 20 goblins with bows. You can see they're on the tiny 25mm bases as well, which is crazy, but I've got the movement tray that makes them the right size. And we've also got a couple of characters. We've got a level 4 Night Goblin Shaman, and we've also got a battle standard bear. Both of these guys basically just stock. I just wanted to get them into the army for nostalgia purposes. In the future, I probably will be taking like the big red raggedy banner and stuff like that. But yeah, no lore familiars or anything like that. Literally just 2 almost basic. I think this guy might have trollhead trousers. That's about it. 2 basic Night Goblin characters. Level 4 just to give me some magic protection between the level 4 and the level 2. And don't forget he will be casting on +3 because of the boys. Mob rule and all that. We should have actually some decent magic here. The only units in this army which aren't actually mine are these 3 fanatics. I want to do a big shout out to Salty Simon, my partner in crime on this channel, who does a lot of the battle reports with me. He actually has a Age of Sigmar Night Goblin army, and he has loaned me these fanatics for this tournament. I actually did have 3 fanatics, the old metal ones, but they have unfortunately been lost to the sands of time. And if I remember correctly, very, very quickly, the metal balls and chains just snapped off. And so it was just 3 goblins just holding on to like a bit of chain spinning round. So I lost them. I've lost them, but I'm strangely not too sad about losing them. And a big shout out to Simon for lending me a few fanatics here. So that is the full army. We've got 10 Wolf Riders, 37 Common Goblins with 3 Nasty Skulkers, 4 River Trolls, 19 Orc Big Guns with a level 2, 19 Black Orcs with the Black Orc War Boss. We've got a 20 strong Squig Herd, and we've got a 30 strong unit of Night Goblins with the Poison Banner and Short Bows, full command. We've got some Fanatics. We've also got a BSB and a Night Goblin level 4. I'm obviously on a huge nostalgia trip right now, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you think of this list from a competitive point of view? What do you think of this list from a sort of nostalgic point of view? Has it inspired you to maybe go and dig out your old models or build the army that you always wanted as a kid? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in that comment section. And if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more content like this, I do have a Bretonian army that I have been looking to restore and remaster, which is what I bought it all when I was just before they got squatted. So if you want to see another one of these sort of nostalgia videos, I do have a pure knight Bretonian army, lots of knights errant, which as a kid I always wanted to make that into an errantry crusade. Well, I say as a kid, this was more as a young adult. So let me know if you want to see that as well. And if you do, don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.